Tracy.
Tracy.
Yeah, hey, Tracy.
Oh, I have to get my backdrop.
While you're doing that, so this is the January 7th Ortelius Architecture and Marketplace Working Group. And let me throw the link in the chat window. To the doc. And share my screen. Okay. All right. Looks like I have to, I got to double check that the last meeting was published out to YouTube. I think I missed doing that, but I'll do that when I publish this one's out to YouTube. If you could go ahead and sign yourself in. And just a couple things that we have, and I think they're going to flow into one another. So the Google Summer of Code, for those of you who don't know, basically it's focused around students that want to get some coding experience, and we basically get a student to work with. And it's supposed to be a full-time type of position for the student, where they're going to be working full-time on our project. So one of the things that we need to do is come up with some project ideas for what we can like publicize out there to try to get some people to join us as students for coding. We're going to be rolled up underneath the CNCF. So CNCF is going to do, I'm sorry, the CDF is going to do the application, and we'll be like a sub project or just a mini project underneath that.
Are you sure about that, Steve? Because they didn't do that with the hackathon.
I know that this is what happened on the TOC meeting yesterday or the day before.
All right.
So looks like from what they've said in the past is like Jenkins would get like 7 people. The other groups like Spinnaker and can't remember the other one that they're talking about. Maybe Tecton got like 1 or 2 people to join. So I'm thinking that we would be targeting at least 1, maybe 2 people, and it's a mentor type based program where Dan Lorick was saying that it works out best, or Tara, that you have 2 mentors to every student, just to offload, so you're not pulled away from your regular day job all the time. But the one thing we need to do is come up with some ideas of what we can publicize as far as like a project or a mini project within Ortelius that we want to target. And the obvious one is component sets.
Well, we'll see what that looks like. It could be more complex than what an intern can do.
Well, that's the thing. The intern doesn't have to do the whole thing on their own. They just
work with us on that.
Right. So we can bring them in as part of, and part of that I was thinking is there's gonna be a coding piece to it. Mainly looking at like Python, JavaScript, and then we'll have backend, which will be some database work. And then obviously we're gonna have the DevOps piece of hooking all together, the plumbing. And that's some of the things I was thinking about. I don't know if we want to look at the other parts of it, which would be getting into design and architecture. I think by the time this starts, we'll be past the design phase and past the architecture phase for the summer code. Any other pieces that we want to focus on? I mean, it could get into um, even things like training videos, those types of things as well. Because I'm not sure if it's going to be 100% like developer coding personas, or if it's going to be more of a wide range of people that we're going to try to attract.
So I guess I sort of share Tracy's concern about the complexity of the component set thing, and maybe that's a better project than I'm imagining it to be. But something that seems more isolated and potentially easier for somebody to do semi-independently would be integrating with one of these new CI platforms that we
Oh,
don't have much support for. And that's something that shouldn't require as many in-depth changes in the core of things. And but
yeah,
also by being more ancillary, I feel like it's a win, because if the person just totally fails in the project and it doesn't produce anything, then we can just start over later or next year or whatever. But the
Right.
component set stuff, we're going to have to build on that. And I'm not saying that a Google Summer of Coding person wouldn't produce lovely code that we'd be happy to build on, but it's not guaranteed. Who knows?
yeah,
So
exactly. That's a great idea. Um,
I think we could do something in the area of some of the reports. We could have a intern look at different ways to present our existing data. So I suspect we can come up with some things that they can do. There's a lot of reports I'm sure we could come up with that they could create that's in addition to what we already have.
okay, those are two.
And just even doing, putting together some sample graphs and whatnot that we can all choose from would be a good project for a college kid.
Yeah, and something like the data visualization will tie into the component sets as well, because we'll need to visualize the component sets as well. So they will have interaction with everybody that's working on component sets at that level. I do like the CI/CD bringing in Spinnaker and Argo CD.
Yeah, that's two other things they could work on. We could get them doing some integrations around that.
Right. The one thing I'm worried about on that is if you get when you get into like Argo CD, that's a whole GitOps world. Same thing like with CodeFresh, and a college person's probably not going to understand why things aren't scaling just because of their lack of experience.
Well, and that's where we would mentor them, so we give them that background.
Yeah. Okay. Any other ones? Now, the other way we could slant this is by breaking it out. My thought process was to take the person from start to finish. So they learn a little bit of everything, learn coding, then learn about what DevOps is, putting in things like the build, the deployment, the issue management, all those pieces that you deal with on a DevOps basis. I would like to approach it that way instead of just saying, here you're going to be given a program to code and that's the only thing you're going to work on is coding this one little piece. I think if we slant it from a start to end, from big cradle to grave type of opportunity, I think we may get a couple people to join in.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds cool.
Yep. We'll get it, we'll get I think we just have to put a web page up with what our project is.
Yep, and Karam and Sasha already stepped up to be mentors.
Nice. Thank you, guys.
So
Well, I'll put a Google Doc out there and send it out to everybody. It says, here's what we're thinking about, and we can collaborate from there.
yeah, I did post some stuff on the Discord channel around links to, and also there's a GitHub issue. Let me find it real quick. That Need2's working on to track this. Let me throw it in there. Real quick here. There it is, 200. So if you want to see what's going on, where we're tracking it and the discussion that's been happening. Oh, I'm so used to doing Markdown. But so there are a couple steps logistically that we need to work on, and it's Need2's tracking that in that issue. There's a small pull request that we need to do with the CDF as part of that to update that our project will be part of the SOC, the GSOC. Anything else on Summer of Code? All right, cool. We do have our meeting with Argo, Intuit, and
Netflix.
was it Netflix or Spinnaker? I mean,
It's Armory, Opsimex.
Armory.
It's Armory, Opsimex, Netflix, and Intuit is who we've invited, and we've had people from each of those say that they would come, but we'll see who shows up.
Yep. So it was interesting. I was on doing some training with one of our customers. What was it, Monday or Tuesday? The week's blending together already. And I did looking at how they laid things out, and they've took 2 microservices and rolled them together into an application version, and they were deploying at that level. One of the things I think that's that we're missing is our capability of deploying incrementally. So if you have, 20 microservices and you try to change only 2 of them, that only the 2 are going to deploy. What I think is coming about from the application sets is people are looking at that as the deployable unit. So they would go through and deploy that unit, and then they go off to the next set and deploy that unit, and then they go to the next set and deploy that unit, because the tools that they're using, like Argo or Spinnaker, are not, or even just like a tech on a Jenkins job, is not set up to handle the relationships So they're thinking very linear and very not in a way that allows the relationships to be pulled up to another level. It's basically thinking very monolithic still about the deployment process. So I thought that was interesting when we got into component sets. It'll be interesting to see what we find out from the Argo CD space. Also, I did do some looked at the Argo CD application sets documentation. They've already actually done an implementation. Basically, what's happening is the way they are managing it for microservices is you have your code repo. So if you have 5 microservices, you're gonna have 5 code repos, just kind of like we have for our microservices that we're developing. And then to represent to do a deployment of the application, they have another repository that has all the deployment YAML files kind of thrown into that other repository to enable the GitOps world to drive off of that. Now, one of the things that's happening, and the reason why application sets are coming about, is because it's a single repo, and because they are not able to do incremental deployments. Anytime you touch that repo, you're going to deploy everything. So the concept behind Argo's application set is to create these search filters to say that when you make a change to this repository, this GitOps repository, I want you to just go in and filter through all these directory structures and just give me this subset of what I want you to deploy to the cluster. So it's a really bizarre way to manage the relationships, but I can see from a GitOps way that's the only way to do it, because Git's so flat. They're taking a single repository, creating a bunch of directories underneath it for each microservice, and then trying to filter through and say that these are going to go now as part of an update. So that's kind of what I've uncovered on that front, and the reason why it came about. So what they're the other thing I found on the Argo CD is they do have another level, but they don't really talk about it, which is called a project. So a project is a collection of applications, and application sets are applications of applications. So hopefully we'll get some clarification when we talk to them later this week, or I think it's next week.
It's next week. Yeah, it's week from tomorrow.
Yep. So once we have that that meeting, we'll go ahead and start hammering out our solution around what we're calling component sets. And in our world, a component is one of the smallest levels of something that can be deployed. And then those components are associated up to an application, and you deploy an application that contains components. And like I said, because we can do incremental, we'll recognize what's been deployed to a cluster. And then the next time we come across, if for only 3 things have changed, we'll only deploy those 3 things as part of that process. So we have a different slightly take on it. And the one thing that we'll have to look at is what we end up calling it. I'd like to stick with component sets. We'll have to see how it plays out with the way Argo and the GitOps world is trying to talk about what they're calling GitOps 2.0. That was the main things that I wanted to bring up today.
Want to talk about goals at all, Steve?
Yeah, we could get into that. So one of the things that we put out there at our general working group was goals of what we want to achieve. And from a like architecture coding perspective, I think we can, we have some good metrics around the, like pull requests, commits, those type of things. But the higher level goals were around adoption. How many people are signing up, how many people are downloading the containers, those type of things as part
Right.
of
So
that.
the outreach community is going to focus on adoption. We're going to potentially we're going to organize a blogathon to include more blogs around tips and tricks to start making it easier for people to learn and understand the product. So I think the question for this group is what we think we might be able to do to enhance that as well. I know that onboarding will be a pretty. I think onboarding in general for everything that we do and making it easy as possible is going to be a challenge for us. And I think that this group, we need to start having discussions about how we can make the product just for anybody who is going through and installing an on-premise version. Does that all work fine? Do we, I think that Steve and I have played with it, but sometimes when you're too close to it, you don't see the problems. So if we could get some feedback on that and potentially some blogs on that, that would be super helpful. So we just need to make sure that the product in general, what we're delivering, is easy to use.
What I've seen, Tracy, is when these new concepts comes up, one of the easiest way to bring confidence among the users of this is the first question come up is, I mean, again, my perception, people may differ to what I say, is can I do this? Can I work on this new framework or new structure or new architect or new solutions which are coming across? And if I have an answer to it, then probably I have more confidence and I'll probably try to work or experiment with it. Something like, every programmer, he or she, the first thing he or she writes is a hello world program. So hello world program gives the person confidence that yes, they can do something with this new language or new framework that will come up. So cutting short, what probably we can do, and people can jump on to add to it, is if we can write small articles of how they have implemented this Ortelius framework in their piece of project, or a short way of configuring and working on Ortelius, maybe a 30 minutes exercise to onboard yourself on Ortelius would be a good option, one of the options. That is my thought.
And do you think that we would get better traction with like blog articles or like training videos on YouTube? Or do we need
Uh,
both?
I think we need both. I think it's a combination of them. It'd be great if the
at times,
blog article had a video to it.
at times what happen is answering the Steve question is, at times people like me would hesitate in writing the blogs, but people like me probably could take 5-10 minutes of recording the video step by step of how to install it, how to configure and how to work on it. So it
Okay.
is like, what people ease in. If they like to probably create a video, not writing enough of stuff, that also works. Either of the balance.
Yeah, so I think that in the blogathon, we could say what qualifies for a blog. Blog needs to be at least 500 or 600 words or 300 words summary of a video that you did.
And do you think the well, I think I'll probably answer my own question, but I'll throw it out there. Do you think the blog article should be like a step-by-step guide, or should they be more general about like why you're doing this, or do we need to have a combination of both?
From the organization point of view, I think step by step is should be there. But if there are enough step by step, then it could be generic. This answer is from the organization standpoint of view. Individual standpoint of view, whatever they feel like.
Okay.
I wanted to say that I haven't deployed Ortelius. I'm super new here. First time came up when I see we have a container image was to put it on into Kubernetes. So right now my personal goal is taking this and deploy it into Kubernetes and trying to do what, I don't know, the more for me it's like if you have this concept about one push button to deploy, everything is going to flow from there. There is a lot of solution today, but usually if you have a really easy way, like almost like a push button to make this work, it has a huge impact because you can focus about the features, about the functionality, about what is solving. And after, if you are really interested, you're going to get into it, even if it's hard. But if you cannot jump and you're stuck in this trying to follow a step, maybe you're never going to get there. So my personal goal, and I think can be useful, is to get into this one push button. Uh, I was thinking like using operator framework, because that is going to be handy for Kubernetes, but still you can wrap up into just a common shell, right? So most of the people is just going to have a local Linux, and it's going to deploy this. So for me, these two implementation of this button is going to get easy to people, just download, execute, and try out. Even with a playground sounds good. Maybe I have environment like a cluster Kubernetes, maybe I don't know, a playground where you can just go jump into it and check what you can do is a good idea too. I just all around like playing with this, trying this uh, before having this decision about going deep to Ortelius.
Yeah,
So I think that the goal that we should set out for ourselves is a 2-week goal, and to make sure that we've all logged in, signed into the SaaS version, and went through the experience of the hipster store.
and maybe that's where
because we tried to, Sergio, thank you for that, those comments, because we've made an attempt to do that, to make it as push button and as simple as possible, so something's already set up, almost like, think about our hipster store as our hello world. So let's try to get an understanding, or at least a consensus that hipster store is a good place to start.
well, I think part of it is what we may need to do is bubble the getting started, your first steps, or it's actually even before that, it's welcome, um, and move this, like Sergio was saying, as because right now this is in our documentation, and it may be just too low for people to go and find, how to get started. So we may need to bubble this up.
Well, let's make sure that it works first.
Right.
So, and then we'll figure out how we need to, how we need to put it in some, because everything that I believe right now are, if somebody does sign up, and we need to start thinking about downloads as well. If they do sign up or get a download, I think the welcoming message that gives them their login takes them to the hipster store tutorial page.
Oh, that's a great idea. So we can
If
change.
it doesn't, we need to make sure it does. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, let's just make sure this experience works for people, that it's not So if in the next 2 weeks, between now and our next meeting, if we can get some feedback on it, and we can do that through a Google Doc too, so that it's easy just to say, here's some notes, and I'll create that doc right now.
And let me find the
So I want to
chat.
get back to Steve's original question for a second. I like the direction this is gone, but I feel like the tutorial sort of stuff is better in the short term sense, and then the sort of why we're doing things sort of thing is something that should come later, and that would generally be something I would associate with like landing this component set, application set idea. You know, that's something that definitely requires more exposition, and so you know, I would think that those why sort of articles would sort of match with those major feature changes, and we would have a more regular how to do X and Y sort of thing on a, you know, monthly basis. And I like the idea of linking to the hipster store tutorial, but I wonder if, you know, in addition to whatever else we do with that, would it make sense to basically use that as the basis for one of the blog posts and, you know, I don't know, simplify it, dumb it down a little bit maybe, or add some more pictures, or, you know, I don't know how
I think
close it is to a bloggable thing yet.
yeah, I think it's bloggable. I've gone through it. I believe that it is bloggable. But I feel like we need somebody else who's never touched it before, or you know, fresh eyes to make sure that it the process was easy. I think that's my biggest concern.
And there's what I'll do is I'll put out a couple GitHub issues so we can track this. And just like the basic thing, getting signed up, you know, the sign-in process, getting logged in, because I know Rosalind from the CDF ran into an issue where it wasn't prompting for the admin password, and because the documentation is slightly off on that. So there's things that just the little things like that that will get us.
So I created a under the architecture meeting. I created a doc called adoption notes, and that's what.
Okay, let me. Was it in the drive?
It should be now. Yeah.
Or I mean,
There. Oh,
can you put it in the link, and I'll just,
yeah.
or just add it as into the doc yourself.
Okay. I'll do.
I'm having typing problems here. All right, anything else on that? All right, cool. So we'll, you know, now that we're over the holidays and stuff like that, and you know, this is where we're going to start really hitting the ground running with this. So things will start. We'll you'll see more issues being created around coding and again like the blog articles and things like that. So we are going to get ramped up a little more on that front. So just give everybody a heads up. And
Yeah, and that's why I'm worried about. I want to make sure as we push this product out to the CDF community, I just want to make sure that it was great that Rosalind had gone through it and found those little things. But if there's anything else like that that she just kind of hacked through, that somebody it might stop somebody else, we just need to catch them.
yep. All right. Anything else? Alrighty. Well, thank you everybody, And like Tracy
One
said,
more, yeah, there is one more thing. We do have a new person. Harsha, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, yeah. Hey guys, yeah, this is Harsha Gatkamsetti from California, San Jose. Means I work at a Walmart as a DevOps team member. So I basically work on like deploying stuff on Kubernetes for the Walmart teams. So we don't own the platform or and we don't own the applications. So we're in the middle, like exact like a proper DevOps structure. So I help teams to implement their deployment scripts in YAML files, like a POC, so like a POC thing, and then the teams will implement on themselves. So we have a wrapper around the Kubernetes, which is inbuilt by Walmart, but we don't have like microservices as of now. So that's why I'm interested in this project. So let's see how this goes. And I'm brand new to this with Ortelius. So I'll be installing on my personal laptop and see how it goes.
okay, well, welcome. Nice
Oh,
to
thanks.
nice to have you aboard.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
And
Thanks.
I can't remember if you're on the Discord channel. But if you haven't, go ahead and join Discord. And if you have any questions or anything like that, and I mean, we talk about all different things from Git issues to Sasha's mohawk. So
Oh,
Yes, and Harsha, on the topic of adoption, since you're going through that, please, open tickets on any even small thing that you run into that says this didn't make sense.
sure, I'll do that. Perfect.
so and and that's one of the things that for people getting started, the SaaS version is actually the easiest way to get up and going because it doesn't involve installing anything. And that may be where we need to redirect people to looking at the SaaS version instead of the on-prem, because that's what like Rosalind did, the on-prem Docker container locally. So
Well, we need to add it on. We need to add that on-prem download to the Ortelius site as well.
yeah, and I think Sergio's idea of maybe doing an operator and having that set up to do something really simple to bring it up into a cluster locally, maybe a better way for people to kind of kick the tires or to learn it.
I mean, I think the SaaS version is great. It's like an initial taste, but as an ops person, if I can't run it on my own infrastructure, I don't believe it's real. And so, having the ability to do that without it being any more painful than necessary, I think is a critical second step to getting it truly adopted.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's interesting how the SaaS is viewed in by different groups.
I mean, I use SaaS stuff all the time, but if I'm going to run it for a while, then I generally expect that I'm going to be running it myself. But that's
yeah, exactly.
probably a cool assumption that's falling by the wayside with everything turning SaaS for sure.
Yeah. All right, we'll keep that in mind because I think we're really close, and it's just we need to uncover some of the smaller little stumbling blocks that can turn people off. Alrighty, everybody. Well, thank you for joining in today. Was it next week is our general meeting, and
In a week from
then
tomorrow, yeah.
we'll
So
be meeting with.
if you haven't read any of there's some, and Harsha, there are some notes in that when you go to Discord, we probably should include, maybe we did include the notes. Are the notes from where you can get information on how Argo CD is addressing Is that component sets? Is that in the doc from last week? Did we put that in there?
I'm not seeing it.
I thought I added it.
It may be in the general working group.
Okay, I'll
And
add it
not
to
it-
here as well.
And not in this one.
Okay, so let's add that here. So the folks from Argo, they have done some work on this already so that we can see how they're approaching it and what they're trying to solve. God, this is slow today for the January 15th Argo component set meeting. So the links will be in this document. So if you want to attend that meeting and you want to do a little bit of homework ahead of time, those two links will be helpful for seeing the problem set from the Argo perspective. I think that we'll hear a different perspective from the Spinnaker folks. And I believe they're trying to solve the same thing. And I've noticed that as at null developers, when we start chatting with these developers, they jump to the solution faster than they can describe the problem. So I think that could be happening because I think they're both trying to solve the same problem. They're just talking about it differently. So that's one of the reasons we're trying to get them together to have a discussion to really clearly understand the use cases so that we can solve the problem from a central place so that any deployment tool that's trying to manage what they're calling application sets can do so. That is the ultimate goal, but we have to figure out what they're really talking about, and so these video, there's a video I think, and there's some docs on it, and I'll make sure it's in this document, and that's for everybody.
And what was the channel name again? I'm sorry, I forgot the channel name. Discord.
Yeah. Let me throw the link in real quick. Give me 1 second. I just have to cut and paste it. Give me 1 second. So it'd be. So in the chat, there should be the Discord link. And what that'll do is that'll, there's a first step that you have to do, which is a welcome, basically agree to code of conduct. And then after that, it opens it up to all the channels.
Sure, thanks. Great.
And then only the last thing before we have to jump off, and I know we're over, there is now in the CNCF, there is a working group called GitOps. I am going to start attending those meetings. So if anybody's interested in getting involved in that, I'll make sure and cross post when they start having the meetings again. They've only had one. I haven't seen a new announcement, but I'll go ahead and post in these architecture notes all of the links to the GitOps notes that they're working on, because what they're trying to do is standardize on what GitOps means.
Yeah, it looks like you're just saw you pop in, so I think you're going to be all set. Okay, and then like in a few minutes is going to be the CDS interoperability meeting, and that's going to be very similar as well. How it seems the general problem in the CI/CD world is how to talk to each other. And
yeah, and that interoperability, just to be a bit critical of it, they haven't really gone anywhere. The team that's really doing some interesting stuff is the team that's working on events and event-driven integration. I'm trying to get them to spin that off to a separate working group so we can just focus on declarative pipelines and events. And so that may happen soon as well. I've pitched it, and I think that the TOC is going to accept that. But it is there if you want to attend it.
Sure.
And I just threw the links in for the Argo stuff.
Oh, good. Thank you. I was looking for them.
Yeah, I just got to pretty it up, but it's there for you guys to get started with.
And I'll throw the links in for the get up stuff.
All right, everybody.
All
Thank
right.
you
Thank
much,
you.
and
Thank you.
take care.
Stay safe.
Thanks.
Hey,
Yes, definitely stay safe.
Guys.
Yeah.
okay. Bye.
Bye.
Yes, bye.